Hi there, it's Dr. Andrew. We are back at it here on this beautiful sunny day. I'm just going to wait for a few of you to get on live today. While I'm waiting, really quick summary. I've been sharing over the last 25 years in practice. I've been exposed to a lot of different personalities, been blessed to meet a lot of really cool people. And as I say, through some of my own pain and looking for answers personally, I've done a lot of development work on my own and studied with a lot of people looking for answers, trying to figure things out. And so I've created a talk called Finding Your Own Inside Answers. And it dovetails into chiropractic. But Finding Your Own Inside Answers, today's topic is entitled How Not to Get Stuck in Your Stories. Especially now, there's lots going on. There's lots you can create a story about and play in our heads and marinate in it and play it enough times that you feel victimized by it. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's been felt victimized lately and sort of maybe said, why me? How come this is happening now? What have I done? That kind of feeling. That's a victimized standpoint. It doesn't serve. So when I think back, I'd like you to maybe think back in your own life to one of the events, if you want, could be today, as I mentioned, or maybe one of the events in your life. Maybe you lost a job, maybe you lost a partner, or you got divorced or dumped, or you're financially strapped. We've all gone through some trying times. Everybody has. And the idea is to not let those stories keep you stuck. You want to learn from them, realize they're just a story, and move on from them. Otherwise, they're holding you and you're not moving past them. So I'm going to share a little story myself that occurred to me years ago. I remember I was like 5, 6, 7 years old, and my father at the time was following his own spiritual calling and belonged to a church that didn't give gifts at Christmas. And that might not be a big deal to you, but when you're 5 years old and there's 4 kids and your mom's sitting there Christmas morning, all our presents had her name on them. She's in tears and nobody else's name, not my father's name. And so I remember Christmases growing up was horrible for me. It was nothing but sadness. And at that time, all parents, in hindsight, I realized all couples, parents go through rough times. And I'm just saying I have a wonderful relationship with my father to this day and my mom before she passed. Great relationships. It's nothing that's carried on. But the point is, at that time, for those few years, I blamed my dad. I put him down. I couldn't forgive him. To me, he had been ruining our family's Christmases. And that was a really big deal for me. And so fast forward about 18, 15 years ago, something like that, I'm away one of my big weekends away, finding and looking for some of life's inside answers, as I mentioned. And one of the things that came up was this story, and I was stuck in it. And I realized I was really blaming my father for something that happened eons ago. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was at this weekend doing this special event, missing my son's first birthday to do it. I was like, wow. I recognized in that moment the very thing I blamed my father for I was doing. And I immediately realized after a whole lot of tears that thank you, first of all, Dad, Bruce, for helping me to see that myself is number one and following my heart and my own spiritual calling needs to be number one. And he showed me that when I was a youngster and I forgot it and blamed him for it. And number two, the biggest thing I learned from that whole thing was not to get stuck in those stories. See the gift in them, learn from them, and move on. They're just stories. They're not you. So sometimes that's tough because we can carry baggage and feel victimized for years if you let it. And to this day, I realize when I'm playing a story over and over, chiropractically, if you see behind me that nervous system picture, what that's doing is you're imprinting in your sympathetic nervous system or your fight flight response or your body that you're in survival mode. And you may not even realize it. You're stuck in your story. You're living that. You're dreaming it. You're thinking that. And so I don't profess to be a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I'm a chiropractor. I've done a lot of interpersonal work, and I've been around a lot of people that have struggled over the years with this. So what I have found helpful is sometimes you need to talk to those aforementioned people, psychologists or psychiatrists, someone to help you look at your own stuff. I won't say the S word, I want to. I don't find sitting around in a group, taking turns sharing how awful it is, how bad it is going to help you move forward. So some, not all, but some self-help groups keep you stuck. Like I remember as patients, I'll see patients sometimes, they'll say, "Doc, I got the sciatic pain. You don't know how bad it is. You don't know how many specialists I've seen. They tell me it's the worst case of sciatica ever. Nobody knows what to do with me. I'm so special. You don't know my problems," right? So we all get like that about our stories. We get stuck in them. We own them. They're wired in our nervous system. So that's why I say sometimes you must go outside. I find your friends and your family, they can't take an objective view. They take sides. So that's where taking someone who's a facilitator, it can lead you out of your stories and see where the perfection is and how these events like today may serve you and be the best thing that have happened to you in a long time is tough. And you don't see it when you're right in the middle of it. But again, I'm going to go back to some other solutions. Definitely meditate. There's nutraceuticals that can help your body deal with stress. We have a stress rebalancer. The formula and what's in it is in our website, all the research behind it. As I said, talk to a psychologist or psychiatrist, meditate, but don't get stuck in your stories. They're just stories. They're not you. And there's lots of ways out of them. Trust me. So hopefully that was helpful today. I will be back next week, and the next part of my bigger talk called The Inside Answers is going to be on the bipolar nature of life. What I mean by that is that there's ups and downs and swings between depression and elation, and I'm going to talk about how your energy attracts those things and maybe a few ways to deal with it that you can do on your own. It might surprise you how your energy does this to you. The other thing I'll just say is make sure you support local. Go on our Facebook site. We've got lots of people listed locally that are struggling or trying to support during this time. And maybe when this is over, if you need a chiropractor or you're looking for a keynote speaker, I'd love to help out. We're at the St. Margaret's Bay Chiropractic Center. And if you're interested in our newsletter, you can sign up on our website for our newsletter. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.